Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Living in the Limelight, an Anton Scholl and Friends podcast where we discuss music from the artist and fan perspective. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to another episode of Living in the Limelight. I'm your host, Anton Scholl, and with me today, my very special guest from Stereo Rex, it is Rex Van Dine. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Hey, we've known each other for quite some time, and the one thing that I kind of wanted to kind of go into was the how we met, because I think that the intertwining of musicians in Arizona is really interesting and really cool. I mean, the way that I've been doing these podcasts, it almost seems to be, what is that thing with Kevin Bacon, with like the 7 different things of Kevin Bacon, where you can always you can always connect him to somebody by connecting him to different people.
Yeah.
Like you can just name a person and you can connect how how Kevin Bacon is in that string. And I think it kind of falls in the same way, because there's so many different things that I've been doing with the podcast. And when I introduce somebody, we start talking, and then it's like, oh, you got your start from that person, or you know this person, and yeah, I've worked with that person, and it keeps on going back and forth. So do you remember the day that we met and where it was?
Do I remember the day we met and where it was?
Well, not the physical day. I mean, do you remember in your mind, do you remember that time?
Honestly, I feel like I've known you for so long. I actually do not remember the first day we met. I remember going to see you at your cover band Sideways over at the El Dorado. But I know we met before that.
Yeah. It was at the Starlight Lounge in Arizona. You were doing a show. I was actually in before that, I was in a Rush tribute band, and my drummer was Rob James.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him I was going to be doing an original show with my other band, with Anton Scholl and Friends, and I was going to be doing this up at Starlight. And he said, "Hey, my buddy Rex is playing there." So it turned out that we were playing the same night together, and that's where we ended up meeting. Now, how do you know Rob?
We were in a band when he was 17. Started a band called Pierce. Dale Pierce was the guitarist, and I met him through them and found out that he went to the same high school as he was going to the same high school as my wife, current wife, girlfriend at the time. And we just hit it off, and we've been friends ever since.
Wow. Yeah. So, and he is one of the premier drummers out here in Arizona, and he was in a Rush tribute band, and Rob and I played together for a while. It was just one of those things to where what a phenomenal player. And it turns out that after our Rush tribute, which was called Anthem, after that had disbanded, with the bass player and keyboard player kind of retiring from music, he ended up moving over to, actually Rob does a whole lot of stuff. I'd love to get Rob on the show, because he actually does so many different things in tribute bands and stuff. He actually, Rob then actually ended up playing on one of my original songs that I put out.
Oh, really?
Which turned out to be a lot of fun when I was featuring different musicians. But it does turn out that Rob had moved over and also took our guitar player, Richard Lashander, to play with Dave Cornwall, with their Rush tribute band with Free Will. And I just interviewed Dave, and it's amazing how all Dave says he got his start with wanting to do tribute bands from Scott Rowe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I just did an interview with Scott Rowe, and so I mean, it's really the way that everything kind of goes together whenever we're talking to somebody. You obviously, you and I have done shows together that Scott Rowe put together for us over at Gypsies. So yeah, so it's just interesting to me how kind of all of the musicians sort of intertwine with each other. And
Mhm.
you have played out at different venues, and you have gotten together with a lot of different musicians, and I think there's that mutual respect from all of the musicians together. But I just kind of love the way that this thing in Arizona, it's not a competition, it's
Right.
not, it's everybody really looking to kind of work with each other and play with each other and have a good time. And everybody's all about, helping each other out. So I really enjoy that about Arizona. So
Same here.
let's talk about Stereo Rex. Um,
Yep.
because, I've been a fan for quite some time. Like I said, we've done some shows together, and you've played out some pretty cool venues out there with your music. But let me ask you this: before Stereo Rex, were you involved in more of a cover band situation, or were you always doing originals?
I was always doing originals. Stereo Rex is the first time that we decided to kind of mix it too. The two of them together. We have the originals, and then we do covers to pay to for the recordings, and so we do cover shows. But we always mix in our originals with the covers.
Yeah.
But this would be my first typical cover band type thing. I've done shows that are just cover bands. Everything else was always strictly originals.
So how was that transition then? As you as an artist, you're the main songwriter pretty much. When you started like realizing like, hey, we need to do covers because we're going to be playing these places where they're going to want covers to be played. What was that like for you as a transition, and how did you go about picking what cover songs were going to work for you?
Well, the cover songs. Well, let's go with the transition first. How I decided that it was a good idea. The band, the Black Moods. I used to go see Josh Kennedy when he was just playing acoustic and these in little bars, and he did a lot of covers. And then with his full band, he does covers too with it. But the good thing, what I like about how he does is he makes them his own. He turns them to where that sounds like the Black Moods. It's a Tom Petty song, but it sounds like Black Moods is doing it. Mm-hmm. So that kind of gave me the idea of going with the covers, and instead of trying to sound exactly like that band, make it your own. Make your own version of what they're doing. And that's kind of how I went with the covers and with the transition with that. And I'm sorry, what was the second question?
Just in general about choosing the songs that you would do to kind of fit with what you're doing.
Choosing the songs with me, I choose the songs that would kind of fit my voice. But what we decided to do is we're 4 band members. We're 4 people in the band. We decided we're going to pick 3 songs each band member. And no matter whether we liked it or not, we're doing those songs. And we'd play them live. And if they didn't take off, then we back shelf those and pick another one. We just watch the crowd. And if the crowd responds well with it, we keep it. If the crowd does not, we shelve it.
Okay. And did that cause any issues with, like, was there a song that came out where I know like a lot of guitar players or a lot of bass players are like, hey, this song would be great. But yet maybe you felt that it wasn't a right fit for you vocally. Did you have to turn down quite a few songs on that, or did they keep that in mind when they were giving you the songs that they wanted to do?
There's a few of them that I've had to turn down. My range is nowhere near what it used to be. So there's a few songs that I've tried. I always tried to do it. And then I tried to see what it sounds like, changing the melody, changing the melody up a little bit to where it would fit me. And if it just doesn't mix like Beat It from Michael Jackson, I can't hit that note. I can hit the note for probably about 4 or 5 lines. Then I start fading. So I tried to do it in a lower tone and it just sounded horrible. So we decided that's when we can't do that. We're shelf it.
Yeah. Okay. So when you were into all of this, I want to get into this because I know the last time we spoke, I didn't get into this situation before. But when we're talking about covers, you were in kind of a strange situation at one point in time where there was an amazingly large artist that you were playing with, where your band kind of got like, uh, I don't even know the word. You guys were like asked, "Hey, could you just play with the singer and see what happens?" What was the story there, and tell us who that was.
That was kind of crazy. My guitarist, Brian Linder, he's friends. He went to high school with this guy that does a charity. It's a charity golf tournament. And Brian called me up and he goes, "Hey, what type of PA equipment do we have?" And I said, "Oh, give me a few minutes. I'll text it to you." So I read and got all the information. And I texted it to him. Next thing you know, he calls me up and he goes, "Do you mind doing sound for my buddy's charity show? He's got Eddie Money coming in to do an acoustic thing." And I was like, "Are you serious?" Yeah, I'll do it. And he goes, "All right." He goes, "They'll be giving you a call." Literally 20 minutes later, the phone rings. Pick it up and I hear this voice and it's, "Hey Rexy, this is the Money Man." I was actually talking to Eddie Money on the phone.
Wow.
And he goes, "You're going to do sound for us, right?" And I go, "Sure, we can do that." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "Your guys," he goes, "can they pick up on other people's songs really quick?" And I go, "I'm sure they can." He goes, Do you think they can do it in 2 weeks?" And I said, "We could try. What do you got in mind?" He goes, "I don't like doing acoustic." He goes, "I want to rock." He goes, "Can you mind having your guys be my band for the night?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't mind at all." And he goes, "I'm bringing my guitarist in, Johnny Gunn." And he goes, "And there's a drummer, which is Randy. Oh man, what is his last name? Brain fart. Hold on a second. I'm not going to have this guy listen to
get past it until you figure
Randy
it out.
Walker. He's actually let's go around to everything kind of meshes together. Randy Walker was the tour manager for Ted Nugent at that time. So Randy Walker came in, went in, him and Paul kind of switched back and forth on the drums. One would do the bongos and one would do the drums. So that's how we ended up being the band for Eddie Money. We did it 2 years in a row, in 2016 and 2017.
How long was that set?
That was only an hour. It was only like 10 songs, 10, 11 songs.
Oh, still learning 10 songs in that quick period of time. But I guess you certainly can't say no to Eddie Money. That was
Oh, no, not at all.
What an opportunity that was. And then you got to kind of jam with him on stage then, right? With
Yeah, the guys jammed with him. On the second time around, his daughter's his backing vocal. Same thing as it goes with me. With age, your voice tends to drop down. You can't get the range you're supposed to. So his daughter, Jessie, always filled in. And her brother was there playing in 2016, but in 17 they weren't there. So he asked me, he goes, "Can you do backing vocals along with the sound?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Wow. What an amazing story. That is just something kind of every musician kind of dreams of, of doing that. And it kind of fell right into your lap, which I think is really cool.
I know, it's crazy. And he turned out to be the coolest guy. And he thinks he's the biggest comedian in the world. He's funny. He's super funny. But that guy will nonstop tell jokes through the whole thing.
Wow. So you ended up actually then putting out an Eddie Money cover song on a video. Why did that come about?
We found out probably about 6 months before he passed. We found out he had esophageal cancer, and he passed away. It was like very quick. I didn't even give a chance to talk to him. I talked to Johnny about it, and I told him to send the family our love, and then he passed away. And so we decided we wanted to do a tribute for him, and hoping that it would do him justice. And that's why if you see the video, it's all comedic. Everything's just joking and goofing around because that was his personality. That's who he was. So we decided to make Think I'm in Love for the video as a tribute to him and his family.
Yeah. That's great. That's a great story. And I love that. And I've always, I have watched that and I think it's a great video and certainly a great tribute to a great person. So great that you had that opportunity to do that. Let's talk about the album, first one you did, the Crunch Crash Boom album that you did. You there in putting together that, was that your first shot in the studio of putting together a bunch of your songs to make a full length album?
Yes, it was.
So what was that like in the studio for the first time? I mean, you got about 12 songs or something like that on that album, I believe.
Yeah. 12 songs.
Where did that, how did it's a big transition to go into a studio. I don't think a lot of people realize that playing the songs live is one thing, writing the song is another thing, but going into the studio and getting it recorded is a completely different animal. Did anybody have actual recording experience before you guys jumped into the studio?
I had a little bit, just at home recording, not actual studio recording myself. And the drummer, Paul, he has a ton of experience recording in the studio. Our former band, he recorded in the studio quite a few times with them.
So then what was that like when you were doing your first song and not having your band? Because obviously as the singer, you would end up waiting until the song is pretty much recorded. You may have done scratch tracks, you may have done things like that while they were playing the song, but to go into the studio with just headphones on and listen to the song in the background, and then you hear your vocals coming through for the first time, was there any transition to that, or did you kind of take pretty easy to that? There's a lot of people that have to kind of get used to that to actually make it, to make it flow. Was there any transition you had to go through for that?
A little bit. The idea of having the headphones on, and it's almost like you're doing karaoke. Yeah. And then it's really different hearing it when you're recording, because it's trying to adjust to the little echoes and everything to hit the timing perfect. And then you got that click going, think, 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 think along with it. It took the first song especially just took twice as long as it would normally do for somebody recording, because I kept having to stop and, okay, let's do that again. I couldn't figure out where it was at. And it was easier having the whole band there listening and knowing that they were in the room.
Well, what was the first song you guys recorded off of that? Do you remember
off that album?
Yeah.
It's called Please Break Free.
No, okay.
It was Break Free.
Yeah.
We started,
and that
was the original name was Please Break Free, but we started, and that was the first one we did.
Oh, okay. So that comes now right after on the CD. It comes right after Grand Slam, which Grand Slam has quite an interesting story to it. So I want you to kind of tell that, because I know it was funny in the beginning when you would first introduce the song, or the audience, everybody would just say, order up. Yeah. And then you guys would start playing. So let's talk about the background to that song.
Okay. That's it's a funny, it's actually kind of goofy, but years ago, my old band I was in with Paul, the band's called The Furnace. I was in with them for about 7 months, and they're a heavy band, and my vocal ability is not heavy, but they were very patient, and they kept trying. They worked with me as much as possible, but eventually the guitarist at the time just felt it was time to move forward and go with somebody else. But what they did is they went back and forth on how they were going to do it, because this is according to them. I'm speaking for them, because he's such a good friend. We don't want him getting mad and taking off. We don't want him to leave. We want everything copacetic and calm when he leaves, so we can stay friends. So there, what they decided to do is when I went to band practice, they decided, hey, before we practice, let's go to Denny's and grab some dinner and just hang out and talk for a little bit, and then we'll come back and practice. And I said, all right. They would not let me take my car. They put me in the car with them, went to Denny's, and I was stuck there. There was no way to go. And the guys got up, and two of them, one went outside. Paul went to the bathroom, and Dan was basically the leader of the band. You know what? You always told me to be honest, and he kicked me out of the band. He told me it was time that he wanted to move on. It bothered me. It really got to me, but of course it's going to get to you when you get kicked out of the band. But he was right. My voice did not fit. But the whole situation of how they kind of pinned me in there, Paul always gave me a hard time about it. And he said, you need to write a song about it. So when we got in this band, every song we were writing, he said, write a song about Denny's. And it ended up an ongoing joke. You're not going to take me to Denny's, are you? The kicking out was always something to do with Denny's. And he goes, write a song about Denny's, write a song about Denny's. And I finally went, okay. I decided I was going to write a song about that moment at Denny's. And I really got to him because the words of the song, throughout the whole song, the words of the song is the titles to the songs we wrote when I was in the band with him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And then what happened to that band?
They sort of disbanded. As the name, they disbanded. They decided to going out and playing and trying to tour, and all that was not them anymore. They just want to do studio. So they've got like 5, 6 separate different bands and projects with different members. So it's a whole mesh of, instead of 4 guys or 5 guys, it's like 30 people just in different types of bands. And they just record and release.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I would definitely say it worked out well for you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, was that the catalyst for you to get moving on like your own and just say, well, that's it, I'm going to get my own thing going, something I can fit?
Actually, no, it was that was when I was like, when my thoughts were, I'm done. I am done with the music business. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I was finished. And it was Paul, on that guitarist I was telling you about, the one that booted me out of the band. It was his 40th birthday party. We were all at his house and we were talking. Dan is asking me, he goes, are you still writing? And I said, yeah, I'm writing. I got a few songs here and there. And he goes, I'd love to hear it. And I said, where's your acoustics? So he grabbed me an acoustic guitar and I started playing one of the songs. And the next day, Paul called me and he goes, let's get something together, because I like what you got. And he goes, let's start working on something. That was January 2013. Was our first practice together. From the start of this band.
Well, then that's actually, I mean, what is that called? Where like the end of something becomes the start of something great. You know, yeah. I would look at it. I would certainly look at it that way. You know, without that bad traumatic thing happening to you, you may not have ever got Stereo Rex off the ground. So
that's true. And the thing about it is, like, it was traumatic. It was bad, but every one of those guys, one of the guitarists, Casey Weaver, his studio, Steampunk Audio Labs, he records our music. He's our producer. Dan steps in on the EP, the one before the full length album. Dan, the guy that, the founder of The Furnace, played guitar on that album, and he's guided me a lot vocally recording. He was a humongous help on me transitioning from playing live to recording. He's got a very good ear when it comes to vocals. Okay. And it's just weird how that band has a lot to do with what we're doing as Stereo Rex.
Well, I tell you what, the amazing thing is, and it just kind of is a testament to you, you know, you're open-minded, you know, enough to listen to what people have to say and how things could be made better. And, you know, a lot of musicians or a lot of singers, a lot of songwriters, they won't listen to other people when it comes to their music. You know, they're like, this is my song. This is the way I want to do it, you know, and you seem to have gotten and seem to be praising the people who have given you ideas on what you can do that may sound better than what you originally had. Is that, you know, so you seem to go with that, then you're okay with all of that.
Absolutely. I'm having a third party in the background listening to the song that really doesn't have any connection to the song. Mm-hmm. Having them listen and come up with ideas is always best. Having a listener's idea, because then if you follow what they're doing and it sounds good, it sounds right, it's usually that's what the audience is looking for as well.
Yeah. So now let's go into the next album, because now, well, you came out with Stranger Than Fiction. What was the gap between the first album and the second album?
Probably 4 years. I'm guessing 4 to 5 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
What started that? What was hey, we got to put something out. I have these songs, you know, what came across your minds as far as it's time to do, and what kind of theme are we going to put together? What was the thought process there?
The thought processes was letting the guys know that we haven't come up with anything. Well, we came up a few little bits of pieces here and there, but we played out so much, and I think we overplayed the album. It was time to get something new. And the process we decided to do with that one is like with Crunch Crash Boom, about 90% of those songs I wrote. Cover to cover, I wrote almost every single one of those. Mm-hmm. This next one is going to be the band. The guitarist, I wanted his riffs. There's only, I think, out of that album, there's only 2 songs on Stranger Than Fiction that I wrote from front to back. But we decided I wanted him to put the riffs. This is the band that we're going to mesh together. So we just buckled down and we just started writing. He put the riffs together. He came up with the riffs. I pieced it together, and then we introduced it to the band, and they put their parts in it and angles. And just like I said, with the guys from the Furnace helping me out vocally, and that's what they were doing when my writing. I would help them out with how try this, try that, different things about how they're playing, and they would do the same thing vocally. What about this word instead of this on the lyrics? And this album was more of a group effort.
Yeah. And the energy is certainly there. And so obviously that helped you. Did that bring you closer together as a band, knowing that you now have that kind of intertwining effect with each other, and that kind of showed how well you can work together on that?
Yes, it did. Actually, we were a lot closer. We're really good friends, and we talk honestly. We're family now. It's basically that. Yeah. Before we were friends, and it just seems like we're family now.
Right. And then let's talk about your videos, because again, that's kind of another thing that sort of sparks off. Paul, your drummer, he does video, and he does an amazing job on that. And so let's talk about the videos that have come out and what you did to achieve this, because some of them are really elaborate. And let's talk about the last one that you did, where you put an ad out for a bunch of motorcyclists to come out. So what was that undertaking, and how was that to put together?
Getting the people together, getting the group together on the same day was the biggest undertaking, is trying to get them all on the same day. And then the sad part about it is the day we decided to record, it started raining. Now trying to get a bunch of motorcycle riders out in the rain, it was really hard. We started out with 40 or 50 going, and the rain kind of killed it. We ended up with like 10 or 15. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't exactly the group that we wanted, the amount, but it turned out really well. The thought of it is, we wrote the song. I wrote the song as basically Arizona Bike Week. We played there for 5 years, and it was just an introduction to us being part of the biker community. people, those guys at Arizona Bike Week, they know our name. They know who we are. They're friends. Getting to know the biker culture. It was really cool. And then we came up with this song, and it just fit. It fit perfect for them. So I wrote the lyrics for that. And Paul came up with the idea of what it's going to be is more or less of, he wanted me on a motorcycle, me riding, and it's almost riding to that place. So we had to piece it in different days. And the fun part was I haven't ridden a motorcycle in over 30 years, and that was the first time back on a bike. So I had to rent a bike and get used to it and start riding again.
Wow. Well, yeah. And you're flying on that thing. When you fly by, in there, I mean, it's crazy. How many times did you have to do that? And was it a little odd?
It was about four or five takes it took to get to where I was comfortable at the speed and changing the gears the way it was supposed to, and being able to haul by that and go as fast as you can. I think I was going 75 by the time I ripped past him.
Wow. So is this more of like a, I don't really know if it is, but is it more of a concept album, this one, in a sense? Do the songs really intertwine with each other in any way?
No, not really. None of them is really a concept album. It's just more of write what fit the song. Just it was one song, Stranger Than Fiction, actually. We had that riff was in the works for almost 3 years before I found the right melody line for that song.
Oh.
And it was just every one of the songs was just a song. It was just something putting together a feeling at the time, a thought at that moment. There was no really concept to it.
Are any of them based on your experiences or real life, or is it more just about thoughts that you may have had?
Most of them are, I think all but one was based on something that I've either experienced, or I had a friend of mine or somebody I knew, a family member, a friend, going through something, and I was writing what I felt they were thinking, what they were feeling at the time.
Oh, okay. All right. And what do you guys have coming up next? Now, this actual podcast, it's probably going to come out a couple of weeks before. So it'll probably come out after you guys do some of your shows. But just what is going on with Stereo Rex right now? What do you have coming up? And what are your plans for the rest of the year?
What we have coming up right now is March 29th. We're playing at the Forum in Chandler. That's all three of these shows that I'm going to say, that's our cover band shows. We're still doing originals, but it's 3 hours of just us. No opening acts, no anything. So we're playing at the Forum in Chandler, March 29th. April 5th, we're back at Arizona Bike Week. We're playing the same night that George Thorogood's playing. And April 26th, we're back at the Forum. And then July 13th, we'll be at Catching Flights in Gilbert. And as for the future, we are looking to get some shows out of state, do some mini tours, and get back to recording. Our recording's going to be a little bit different this time. Instead of putting out a full album, we're putting out singles until we have enough to make an album. So like Let It Ride, that's not on any of the albums. That's not on Stranger Than Fiction or anything else. So within, hopefully by next month, by April, we'll have another song out and another video in the works, and just keep moving forward from there.
So is there a timeline that you guys are now kind of doing? Because you said there was 4 years in between one album to the next. Is there now a timeline you guys are working on where you pretty much want to put out one every 3 months, or
that's exactly it?
Kind of as it happens.
Nope, that's exactly it. We want once every 3 months. We recorded 3 songs. We've got one, Let It Ride, is out, and we're mixing, or Casey's mixing and mastering the next one that's going to come out. And we're probably going to do a video and release them both at the same time. and try to do this once every 3 to 4 months, and just basically giving something to the listeners instead of having them wait for so long.
Oh, great. Where can everybody find your music? Get a hold of you, just kind of get on a fan page. Let's find out where we can all get a hold of you at and get your merchandise.
You can look up Stereo Rex on any of the social media platforms, any of the music platforms. We have a webpage, www.stereorex.com. If you guys want, sign up on the mailing list. I send out a mailer at least once a month, and kind of give everybody information on what's happening.
And are you still putting out? I know I thought this was awesome. The way that you guys did this is when you're ordering stuff, they are actually signed when they did come out. Are you guys still doing that?
Yes, we're still doing that.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So great CDs. They get autographed. They come to your house. It's a really, mail. Really a great deal to get that. And I think everybody should jump on there because follow. Really, us musicians, we do need as much of the followers as we possibly can. Just a listen on Spotify or a listen somewhere on YouTube, a video on YouTube, a view, watching the video all the way through, something that's free, that would really help out a lot. And it really helps out the musicians a lot. And there's a lot of people out there that, could help and that want to help the musicians that are out there. And, those are the ones that keep us going. Without the fans, without those fans out there that are keeping us going, and you guys certainly know that for a fact, they're the ones that keep us rocking. And those are the ones that we need to keep following and keep listening to the music. And I got to tell you, the music that you guys are putting out, has been really good from beginning to end. It was a pleasure doing shows with you guys. Your live shows are awesome. And when you throw in the covers on there, you do a great job on that. And just something to listen to. So if you get the opportunity to see Stereo Rex live, look them up on Facebook and just check out their songs, watch their videos on YouTube, professionally done videos, just great stuff to listen to. So look for them. And Rex, I want to thank you for being on the show. Again, we've known each other for a long time. Very happy and proud to call you my friend. So we'll keep this going. I definitely would want to have you back on again when you get the next song out. We can start talking about the songs and try to promote that in any way, shape, or form. But until then, appreciate you being on the show.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me.
You got it. And for everybody else, please look up Stereo Rex, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube. Check them out. Any show that you happen to be at or that you're looking for a show to get out and see, a great show, go see Stereo Rex live. Certainly recommend that. And for all of you.
And real quick, when you guys get out there, talk to us. Come up and talk to us. We'd love to hear what you have to say. We'd love to get to know who you guys are. That's the biggest thing. We love making friends.
Yeah, very important. You are very, very hyped up on the fans, and you're very willing to sit there and talk with them and answer any questions that they may have. So that's another good point. So thank you very much. And for everybody else, please keep in touch with the podcast, subscribe to YouTube, get on and follow on Spotify, help these bands out. We all need help in that way. We appreciate everything you guys do for us, and keep an eye out for Living in the Limelight podcast each week. Thanks, Rex. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Right. Thanks, you too. Thank you for joining our Living in the Limelight podcast with your host, Anton Scholl. Please feel free to comment, like, follow, share, and subscribe, and also add us to your playlist on your favorite streaming sites. Thanks again for joining, and we'll talk to you again next week.